Hey everyone, my name is Sam Wolf. For the past 9 months, I have been living full-time in my 13-foot Scamp Travel trailer, and in those months, I've traveled all over the U.S. with my husband and my dog. Speaking of which, it is raining outside right now, so my dog has to be in the camper with me, so you may end up hearing him a little bit. He is currently chewing a bone. On this channel, I have several videos already out about all of our travels, what we've done, what we've learned, what we've seen, with many more videos to come, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can follow along in the journey. Real quick, here are the supplies that I use for my bullet journals. If you go down to the description below, you'll see links for each of these products. The journal I've used for the past 2 years is made by Dingbats. I love these journals because they are eco-friendly, the pens I use don't bleed through the paper, the notebook lies flat so I'm not fighting with a curved middle section, and they are resilient, which is great for my lifestyle. I use Zebra's monoliner markers and Sakura's Pigma Micron pens. After it fully dries, Pigma ink is fade-proof and smear-proof, which is awesome because I can use the monoliners over it and not ruin my markers or smear any ink on the page. I use an HP Sprocket photo printer for pictures. The paper has a sticky backing so I can fill the journal with all kinds of memories. It's not the best quality of printing, but it serves its purpose well. I also use washi tape to add character, a ruler for straight lines, and whatever cup I can find to draw circles. So I also have my 2022 and 2021 bullet journals with me. This is so I can show comparisons as I dive into the spreads that I have for my 2023 bullet journal. I can say that my 2023 bullet journal is my favorite so far. Please feel free to copy the spreads as you see them or make them your own with more or even less creativity. For 2023, I have a lot of changes coming up, and a huge priority for me is going to be self-care. I decided to have a flip page in the front that's easy to find with a list of things I deem valuable for my own self-care. My goal is to do at least 3 of these things every day, and I'll have a monthly tracker to make sure I keep up with it. This year, I decided to build a little pocket to hold small things, like my rulers or extra paper. Most journals come with a pocket in the back, but that one got filled up for me last year, so I wanted another one up front for easy access. For now, I have my standard ruler I use frequently. I also created a ruler that has the measurements I need for my monthly calendar and the number of boxes and dots vertical and horizontal on the page. In the past 2 years, I found myself having to count boxes more times than I wanted to, so this ruler should hopefully alleviate that problem. To make the pocket, I cut the top half off one page and used a little bit of glue and washi tape to hold it together and make it look nice. I like using washi tape on the edge of pages for both stability and decoration. Next is the title page for the year. Given my lifestyle, I felt mountains were appropriate here. A ruler is my best friend because it allows me to draw with straight lines. I'm not the best artist, so straight line drawings and ultra simple doodles are my go-to. Up ahead are all the spreads I have for year-round use. This is the 3rd year-at-a-glance spread I've tried. I really like the one I used for 2022, but it took up 4 pages and I felt there was a lot of wasted space. I decided to go with a spread that allowed me to see the whole year at one time, and I could use the other 2 pages for something else. The year-at-a-glance has been so useful for me though. I always find that I have dates I need to remember, but I don't have that month's spreads ready. I'll just place that date here as a future reminder. As far as what dates go here, birthdays have its own page, so only holidays and important dates are written down. My next page is my birthday spread. I saw this design on Pinterest and thought it was both clean and easy to create. Another page I find necessary for me is the color swatch page. I've added 10 more colors for this next year, so I'm going to have a lot of fun creating more combinations. I like to have the combinations listed out too, so I can see which is calls to me when I'm creating spreads and to make sure I like the combination before committing to it for a whole month. This is a new page for me. I'm calling it my mantra page. As I said before, next year is coming with changes, and I think I'm going to have to remind myself frequently that I'm capable of these changes. That's where this page comes in. I'll have the opportunity to write my mantra out as many times as I need to. I couldn't possibly think of one word that describes a whole year, so instead I have a word of the month page. This page allows me a chance to reflect on how my month went, and choose a word that appropriately describes it. I love this page, plus these little mushrooms on the washi tape bring me joy. My period tracker is essential. The first bullet journal I had, I forgot to put it in and tried tracking it using my monthly calendars. It was frustrating for me to figure out where I was in my cycle and having to go back and forth between months. In 2022, I placed a tracker in the beginning of the journal and used a vertical style grid. However, I learned I needed a tracker that was more calendar based so I could see it in its 28-day cycle. I decided in 2023 to use this model of tracker and color code the calendar so I could have a better idea of what's happening every month. I wanted to add a when did I last page because I found that during 2022 while traveling around, I forgot when I did certain things. I'm going to also add when I last cleaned my bedding and did general laundry, but more slots are needed for those. I want to make sure I have enough room for anything else I want to add to this list before the new year comes. This calendar is proof that a whole year with a small amount of writing space can be written out on a 2-page spread. I use this type of spread for my dog because Percy is an expensive handful to take care of. He's been diabetic for 2.5 years now, and I've bought bottles and bottles of insulin, bags and cans of prescription dog food, and syringes in packs of 100. I like to keep track of all the things I buy him and how much they are. It helps me to know if I need to buy another pack of syringes soon, or if his Bordetella shot is coming up. Plus, when my husband asks me how much I've spent this month on insulin, I can pull this chart out and we can cry together. A chart like this can be used for anything, from documenting trips, to the best restaurants, to yoga classes, or whatever you feel you want to track. I'm going to use it in 2023 to track every campsite I go to, whether it's a campground or dispersed camping in a national forest or on BLM land. This will give me a map of everywhere the Scamp has been with additional information that I can go to in the future. I usually move every 2 weeks, and there are plans to come back to Kentucky to visit, so I don't see myself needing more than the 52 lines provided. But if I do, I'll just add another page later on. My husband and I live for our Mexican restaurant margarita nights. These nights allow us to sit down and talk about anything and everything. It's basically our therapy. Last year, I tried to track the best margs we had as we traveled around the country. However, because everything is more expensive in the West than back home in Kentucky, we didn't get to do this as often as we would have liked, which left for quite a bit of unused space. I thought for 2023 it would be better to have a page for all restaurants we go to that's worth noting. This opens up my ability to track restaurants outside of our usual taco marg night. This year, I wanted to set up a hiking log. I have date, location, distance, elevation, difficulty, and time as the categories. Everything I would want to know about a hike I went on. I have hopes that if I have a page like this, I'll be driven to want to fill it up. I love filling my bullet journal with stickers of things I've done and places I've been. I found that I was having a hard time finding space in my monthly spreads for stickers or other mementos though. I decided for my new journal I wanted a title page for each month that I could fill with anything I wanted. The canvas would be mostly blank so I wouldn't be held back by space. I also like the idea of having a photo, sticker, or memento of the month in the center as well. In the past 2 years, I always used an entire 2 pages for my month at a glance. I found that I wasted a lot of space doing that. Because I have so many pages filled in the beginning of the journal already, I decided this year to have the monthly calendar on only 1 page. I honestly think it's going to work nicely this way and allow room for other spreads. I use my calendar not only to write down important dates, but also things I've done, who I've hung out with, where I went, how long I was at campsites. This year I'm also tracking the moon cycle, because why not? This next page is a new one for me. Every month I'd like to do a challenge for myself. It could be anything that I want to get better at or make myself more disciplined in. I'm a Kenjutsu student for Elements of Self-Defense in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and I found in the last year while being on the road, I slacked off a bit. For January, I want to challenge myself to practice every day, whether that be picking up the sword, studying the parts of the katana, or reviewing all the different terms that comes with the art. I'm hoping that this challenge will help me get back into the habit of practicing more frequently. In future months, this page can be for anything. Yoga, meditation, reading, writing, studying Japanese, camera work, actively trying not to spend money, drinking water, no alcohol, learning something new every day. The options for a challenge are endless. My next spread is my monthly tracker. This tracker has always seemed to be the focal point of my monthly spreads during the month. In 2021, I liked tracking things and found it was fun to look at the charts. However, in 2022, I got bored with it and stopped tracking so much. So this year's tracker looks a little different to help spice things up a bit. There are still things I want to track, like no alcohol, if I drank caffeine that day, when I study Japanese, if I complete the minimum of 3 daily self-care tasks, things like that. However, I don't care to track if I eat out anymore or my water intake. I find myself getting bored with those. I also found that I don't care about tracking my sleep. Instead, I'm focusing 2023 on tracking my mood, stress, and energy levels with a simple dot like I did back in 2021. Plus, the graph is super cool to look at when it's done. This year, I'm also tracking the weather. It'll be simple with just a dot for the high and low temperature of the day and an icon of the average weather in the middle. So, I love Tetris and organizing blocks to fit. I saw this spread on Pinterest, but it was for an adulting theme. I'd much prefer to focus on self-care instead. As I said before, self-care is a big priority for me, so I decided to make it a bit fun. It'll be interesting to see how much it builds up, and if I need a certain block to fill a spot, will I actually do the thing to get the block? In the past year, I got used to having 2 lines to write about my day. What I did, how I felt, things like that. It took up 2 pages though, and sometimes I didn't do anything worth noting. I decided to try 1 line a day instead, at least for January, and see how I feel about picking only a few words to say about that day. I'm a fan of how it looks, and still allowed myself 2 lines to sum up the month. One of my favorite things to do is laugh, and my husband and I are always laughing about something. I want to remember the funniest moments, and this page is reserved just for that. I always have a brain dump towards the end of the monthly spread. Even though it can be wasted space sometimes, I leave it because I don't know what it will become as the month goes on, or when I'll need space for something and there's no room for the information somewhere else. Next, I have my photo spread. I can't possibly do just a photo of the month with all the experiences I have, so I gave myself a full 2 pages. It can get a little pricey buying all the printer paper, but I think it's worth it given what this spread becomes. It helps turn my bullet journal into a yearbook that I want to look back on. This spread will live out in every journal I ever have. I love it that much. A monthly reflection entry is a new spread for myself. I've never been one to actively write in a journal because I've never had the habit of doing so. But then again, I've also never had the habit of keeping a bullet journal, and here I am on my 3rd year. On the road, the days tend to blend together, and sometimes I don't realize it's a new month until a couple of days have already passed. I like to think of a reflection entry as a good way to consciously end one month and start the next one with a new open mind. There's one thing that I do every year that I think is so cool that I want to share with you. I don't do this spread until autumn when the leaves start to fall, but I can show you in my past 2 journals what it looks like. I try to collect fall leaves and put them in the journal. And what's super neat with the traveling I do is the opportunity to see the difference in leaves depending on the state. In 2021, I was in Kentucky and Tennessee, but in 2022, I was moving between Utah and Colorado. I'm definitely going to do this spread in 2023 as well, and who knows where I'll be in that season. I don't have my February spread written out because I wait until it gets closer to that month to create the spread. This is because I don't know if I'm going to use the same spreads over or if I'm going to add something different. So I'd rather just do it month to month, so as my life and I change throughout the year, so can my bullet journal. So that's all I have for you. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing what I created for next year's SAM to keep track of. Maybe it'll inspire you to use some of these spreads or even start your own bullet journal. Then if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, bye guys.